Hi there, my name is Azim Ibragimov, and I am the first author on the paper called Toward Multimodal Privacy in XR, Design and Evaluation of Composite Privatization Methods for Gaze and Body Tracking Data. And so this paper was presented this year at IEEE so IEEE 2026. And so in the paper, we have introduced the XR Privacy SDK. And so if you use our SDK, you are going to be able to privatize motions of the users in real time. And so this could be useful for a lot of the researchers studying privacy, and it would be extremely valuable if it was easy to use and that researchers are actually able to integrate the SDK into their projects. And so for this purpose, we decided to record this tutorial, this walkthrough, which is going to show how to actually integrate your projects into, how to integrate the SDK into your projects step by step. And so let's get right to this. So welcome back. And so before starting, obviously read our paper right here. And so as soon as you read the paper, make sure that you have a VR headset, right? And so in our case, we have a Meta Quest Pro right here, but really any headset which has the support for Open XR should be okay. So it should be all of the Meta VR headsets, and a lot of the modern headsets are also covered. So I believe Apple Vision Pro, HTC Vive should also be there. So most of the headsets are covered by the Open XR. And so yeah, just make sure you have the VR headset with you. And so as soon as you have this, make sure that you have Unity downloaded. To download Unity, it's very easy. You just go to Google, and in here you say download Unity like this, and the first link right here is gonna get you to your Unity. And so if you are a student at a university, most likely your university provides a free subscription for you. But if not, you can also use many of the deals for the personal account that Unity provides. And so in my case, I already have Unity downloaded, so let's just go to the apps right here. So here is my Unity hub. I go here. And so you go to the projects tab right here, and in our case, we'll just create a brand new project from the scratch. So in here, you go to all of the templates right here, and you should be able to find the universal 3D template right here. And so just go to this template, and it's gonna provide the functionality for all of the 3D projects, for all the 3D objects that you're gonna need for VR development. Okay, let me just move myself here. And so that's gonna give you the tab right here, right? So you can name your projects whatever you want. Let's say it's just gonna be tutorial in our case. And then we are gonna create a project. And so might take a few minutes. So once it's done, I'm gonna just be back. For you, it's gonna be a second, but for me, it might be multiple minutes. So yeah, see you in a second. So welcome back. And so our Unity project has opened. And so if you've never seen Unity before, let me quickly explain to you what it is. So in here, you have all of your game objects, which are used for your game. And in the center, you have like the actual scene, so the way your game is gonna look like. And so right now, obviously, it's pretty empty because we just started, right? So there's not much to see yet. Then in here, you have all of the folders with all of the like actual scripts which are needed for your project. And then on the right, you have the inspector, which kind of tells you more detailed information about the objects you are looking at. So for example, let's say we want to look at the main camera right here, and it's going to tell you the information about the main camera. And so right now, our scene is looking a little bit empty, so let's just add an object, for example. So let's create a 3D object, a cube right here. And so give it a little second. So yeah, here's the cube, right? So it's pretty simple. You just add objects and then Unity is gonna place them into the scene for you. And so let's just try to make this cube a little bit larger. So let's try to make it like a platform so that whenever we have our VR character, they just don't fall into the abyss, right? And so let's say that in the X direction, like that's the scale parameter, which is gonna make our objects scale larger. And so in here, let's say it's gonna be 10. And so you see how it just became wider. And then if we add a 0 here, obviously it's gonna become taller, but we don't want that. It's just gonna be like a platform. So let's keep it at 1. And then if we use the Z coordinate, it's gonna become like a platform, like a 10 by 10 platform, which we can use so that our characters can actually stand on it. And so once that is done, what you want to do is you want to actually download the SDK. And so for this to happen, kind of the easiest way to do this is by going to Window tab right here, and that should be similar, or Windows, like the operating system as well. So you go to Window right here, followed by the package management, and you have to go to the package manager. And so you get to here, right? And so you have to go back to your browser right here. And so you have to actually find our paper, right? So what you can do is you can just go to Google Scholar. Here's my profile, right? So just go to my profile and you can find our paper again. So let's go back to the paper that. Hi there, we just had a technical complication, so I'm actually not allowed to show you the paper. I just realized because of the licensing. And so essentially just go to the paper, find the link there, and once you get the link from there, you will find this website right here, right? And so it's very easy, just go through the instructions, and for the install, here's gonna be the link, which you are gonna copy, essentially. Go back to Unity right here, and then you press this plus symbol right here, and install package from git URL. So you just insert the link I've just mentioned, and you install this. So yeah, should take a couple of minutes, and once it's completed, I am gonna be back. Okay, great, so the SDK has been downloaded, so let's go back to our scene. And so, essentially, once the SDK is downloaded, what you are gonna be able to do is you are gonna be able to press this button right here, Tools, and it's gonna say XR Privacy SDK, Set Up Scene. And so what that's gonna do is that's gonna import all of the dependencies into your scene, and as soon as you get this message, you should be good to go. And so it's compiling some more scripts because your scene has changed. Let's give it a second. And yep, so in cases where you have this project validation, what you have to do is you just have to press fix all, and that's gonna fix the issues which you might have in your project. That's really related to your template, to the Unity version, so it's nothing big. Just press the fix all, and that's gonna be quickly fixed. And so if that happens, you do have to press the setup scene one more time, just so that it can be compiled without the issues. But as soon as you do this, you are gonna get these objects right here into your game, right? And so in here, you can see the camera right here, and you can see the privacy panel through which users are going to be able to control their privacy settings. And so let's look at it, right? So hi there. So my computer just ran out of memory. These video files are pretty large, so I had to delete some of them. I had to trim it. So yeah, like I would say 20 minutes have passed. And yep, so I'm back, and we were talking about these objects right here. And so let's quickly go over the objects right here. So this object right here, the XR origin right here, it's responsible for the user movements. So it's actually the controllers, the headset, all of that is responsible for the user movements. It's this object right here. Then also you have the simulator, which kind of lets you see what the users would experience before you actually deploy the game onto your VR headset, and that is useful, especially especially for testing before you actually deploy your game. Then you have the XR Privacy dashboard, so it's this screen right here, which lets the users privatize their emotions. And in below right here, you have the privacy mechanisms, and if you expand on it, you are going to be able to access all of the privacy mechanisms we have discussed in our paper. And so, but perhaps the most important object in this whole SDK, it's the XR Privacy Manager. And what's really interesting about it is that the settings for it, so in this screen right here, let me move myself over, and it has a lot of the different options. But I would say, especially if you're new, the most important kind of the settings for you would be these two kind of categories right here. And so one of them, it's the body channel mechanisms. So that is the body motion mechanisms, which you are going to be used for prioritizing your controllers, for prioritizing your head motions. And then the eye channel, which is going to prioritize your eye motions. And so by default, we have DMM spatial and DMM smoothing for body motions, for competitive and casual applications respectively. And then for eye smoothing, we have eye smoothing for both competitive and casual. These are the best mechanisms which we have discussed in our paper, but obviously feel free to change them, so you don't have to use these mechanisms. And changing them is actually very easy. So let's say that we actually want to use the Gaussian noise mechanism, right? So you just move this over to here, like competitive settings. So let's say we want to use the Gaussian noise for competitive settings. And then let's say we want to use the temporal noise for for the casual settings. Just an example, right? So it doesn't have to be this specifically. I'm just showing that you are easily able to change the mechanisms. And yep, so let's try to actually run this. So it should take a couple of minutes, especially when you first compile this. And yep, so what we are realizing is that hi there, I'm back. So that's compiled, and you can see that right now we are outside of the platform for some reason, right? And so when you start from scratch, usually the main reason for it is that we have the main camera object right here, which interferes with the VR rig. So you have multiple cameras, and the scene doesn't know exactly which one to use properly. And so whenever that happens, what you should do is you just should remove the main camera object, and that should fix the issue. So let me see if that works. And yep, sure enough, it works. Let me just back up. And so you can see the controllers right here, as well as the gaze, which is indicated by the red cursor right here, right? And obviously it's just a simulator, which we are using on our computer just to see how it looks first. But then we are gonna deploy this SDK onto this VR headset, right? But yeah, so let's just kind of try to look what it looks like, right? So we have the controllers right here. We have the XR Privacy SDK, the application type. And so we can select the application type. So we can select competitive, we can select casual. So let's go with casual, for example. And then we can select the privacy strength we want. So let's say we want the most privacy, for example. And then we press confirm. And so we use a temporal downsampling, right? So you can see how the FPS has reduced. So it looks a little bit jittery, or a little bit laggy, like a little bit delayed essentially, right? So yep, you can see it happening right now in real time. And so if we try to select the casual, the competitive mechanism, we selected the Gaussian, and so yeah, it's gonna look like this. So there's gonna be like a lot of the jitter right here, right? So yep, and let's try to minimize the jitter. So let's just try to disable it, and you can see that it works, right? So, and obviously you can like select less jitter. So if you want to do this, that's very easy. Yep, so that's how it works. So it's all working, and let's try to actually deploy this to the headset. And to deploy this to a headset, what you need to do is you need to stop this, and you need to go to edit right here, project settings, and you want to go to the XR plugin management, right? So if you don't have this button right here, what you want to do is you want to go back to the window, manager, package management, package manager, and you want to search for the XR plugin management. So you want to download this if you don't have it downloaded. So, but as soon as you download it, it should appear here in the project settings. And so what you want to select is, obviously depending on your headset, you want to select Oculus, OpenXR. And so in my case, I'm just going to select Oculus because I have a MetaQuest Pro right here, right? And so that should take a minute, but it shouldn't be too long, I believe. Let's see. Okay, that's done. It's gonna require a restart. Let's save the scene. Okay, so we are back. Let's try to go back to the project settings. So we have Oculus selected, and then in here we can select Oculus, but also at the same time what you can do is you can select both. So you can select Oculus and OpenXR at the same time, so that you don't really have to care about which one to use, right? So that's definitely a possibility. And you have to press this fix all buttons to kind of resolve any of the issues you might have. And yep, so let me see. So there's two issues right now that are happening. And so they're talking about the interaction profile for OpenXR, right? So give it a second. It's trying to load it. So yeah, right now specifically for OpenXR and Oculus, so what they are asking is for the interaction profile to be added. And so that's pretty important. So follow this if you don't have an Oculus essentially. But for the OpenXR right here, go to the OpenXR section, click on the enabled interaction profiles, add it. And so essentially what you want to do is you want to add the MetaQuest Touch Pro controller. So if you have this, or if you have the Touch Plus, add this. So just depending on what profile you have, what controllers you have, add this. But because we have a MetaQuest Pro, one more time, we have to select the MetaQuest Touch Pro controllers. And so that's going to let you use the controllers easily. And then also for gaze privatization, we want to use this right here. So it's the eye gaze interaction profile. And yep, so, and also press this right here, MetaQuest Pro support, and that should be good. So it's giving us some more errors. So latency optimization, let's fix that. And these two problems, it doesn't give us a fixed button, so it's not kind of solvable, but at the same time, these are very minor errors, so they can be easily ignored. And yep. And so as soon as you are done doing this, what you want to do is you want to take your VR headset, you want to connect the VR headset to the computer, so you can use any USB cable essentially. And so let me do that, and I'm gonna be back in a second. Okay, so I am back, and so as you can see, here's my headset, and I put the cable next to it, right? And so just get this on, and you will see it's gonna ask you for the permissions, it's gonna ask you for the debugging permissions. And so as soon as you do that, you can just go to build profiles, I believe. Yep, give me a second here. Build profiles, and then you can just build and run, and that should be good to go. And just give it any name in here. Let's say it's going to be tutorial, save. And yep, so that's going to take a couple of minutes, so just give it some time, and as soon as it compiles, we are going to be back. Hey there, I'm back. So one mistake that I noticed I made, and so essentially what you want to do is when you do build profiles right here, one thing that I noticed is that I am on macOS right now, so what I did before would actually compile it on my computer itself. But what you want to actually do is you want to go to Android, and then once you are in Android, you press the switch platform button so that it would actually run on your VR headset. Because what happened is that it actually just ran on my computer as a separate application essentially. And yeah, so make sure that you switch over to the Android platform, and then as soon as that's done, give it a second, it should let you build and run using the Android platform. And I believe it should be right now, right? Give it a second. Let's see what's going on in here. Oh, it's still loading. Okay, I was like, what's going on? But yeah, I'm gonna be back once it loads. Okay, I'm back, so it has finally loaded. And build and run. You press this, let's say it's gonna be tutorial Android, for example. And yep, so I'm gonna be back once it loads to this VR headset. Hi there, I'm back. So kind of two things to address in here is that when you actually run your game on a headset, make sure that your simulator it's disabled, so you can disable it like this, or in our case, let's just remove it completely. It's because you don't really need the simulator once you have an actual VR headset, so it's not needed anymore, right? And then for the project settings, in the past I had both Oculus and OpenXR selected at the same time, and so some headsets may not be too happy about it, so they're gonna give you a bunch of warnings, and so just prevent this, select one of them, right? So if you have an Oculus, just go straight for Oculus, or if you have OpenXR, just go straight for OpenXR. And yep, so just make sure that you recompile it, so build and run, and yep, so that should work, and I'm gonna be back in a second. And so, okay, now we are in the VR game that we just developed, right? So you can see the platform right here. Then you can see the dashboard right here. So looks all good, right? So in here, what we are able to do is we are able to select between the casual and competitive applications. So let's just say we want the casual. We can select the privacy strength right here. And so let's try to do full strength. And you can see how my controllers are being a little bit slow, like temporarily downsampled, right? And so we can disable it, and let's say we want just like a little bit of it, like not too much. And you can see that it's a lot better now. Still a little bit slow, but like at the same time, not as bad as it was before.
And yep, so we can see that it all works, and let's do the same for competitive, right? Let's like let a little bit of jitter, and you can see how it's all jittery. And yep, so all works, all good. And yep, so that's about it.
But yep, so that's it for the tutorial. If you liked the tutorial, if you like the paper, if you like the SDK, please make sure to cite our papers. So make sure to cite all of these papers specified right here. So that's our paper as well as the mechanisms that we used to create the SDK, so like all of the privacy mechanisms from the research field. And then also just to enable the search not just by academics but by developers, by broader VR developing community, make sure to leave a like right here, and that's gonna help us a lot. So thank you so much and see you at the next conference.